Well, hello there. It's Saturday night, and I'm now getting to the devotion today. I'm excited because we're moving. We're moving into the New Testament. We're moving into the final phase of Lent, the last 20, I think it's about 22 days left, maybe. And so we're now going to move into the New Testament. And today we start with a very precious story of a woman who was willing to put her life in a hard place. Now, this woman is highly favored among women. Her name is Mary, and yes, she is the mother of Jesus. Now let's look at a few of her hard places. First of all, the very calling on her life. Yes, that annunciation of you're going to bear this child for the Lord. For her to say yes to that put her in a hard place. It caused her to risk her reputation, her engagement, even her life could have been taken. But you know what? Just as, and I'm amazed at this, as a young girl, teenage girl really, being asked to bear the Son of God outside of marriage in a culture where that would mean they could stone her. Mary thought it better to obey God, even if it put her in a hard place. Can you imagine that? Now, the second thing I want to talk about, after she's married, Joseph and her are headed to Bethlehem. She's about to give birth. Think of the journey just from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Think of how hard it must have been for her. She had nowhere to go. They didn't even have a room. She's going to give birth. I can remember giving birth. I don't want to be in any discomfort at all anyway. It was hard enough, but can you imagine not having a bed, not having a place to lay down, not having people with you, your family, only her and Joseph in a city full of strangers. But sometimes God's plan is just not comfortable. It's not meant to be comfortable. It's actually meant to be kind of hard. But you know what? She was resilient, and she brought forth her firstborn son. She wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and she put him in a manger. And you would think, well, after she's gone through the humiliation of bearing a child, no people asking questions, she went on this rough, place to be counted, census, if you will. Surely that's enough. Oh, but no. No, no, no. When Mary takes Jesus, the baby, to the temple, Simeon speaks some words to her in Luke 2. And if you read verses 25 through 35, you'll get the whole story. But as Simeon is speaking to her, he says, Mary, there's a sword that's going to pierce your soul too. I mean, can you imagine taking your baby to church, having him there for his dedication, and the preacher saying, there's a sword that's going to pierce your heart? Sorrow. This hard place, this living with the knowledge that the calling that she has on her life to bring this child into this world, to be his mother, this calling is going to one day bring her excruciating pain. If that weren't enough, well, when Jesus turns 12, he gets to go to the temple with them. He travels to Jerusalem. And he decides on that day that he needs to be about his Father's business. And 3 days later, they decide, where's Jesus? Well, a day later, they decide, where's Jesus? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? We don't know. He's not traveling with any of his kinfolk. They lost the Son of God. I cannot imagine how she must have felt. I can imagine. I have, lost my child for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. An entire day they spent looking for Jesus, not knowing where he was at, not knowing what was going on. and finding him and realizing that he really felt like he was doing what he was supposed to be doing. So, yeah, don't lose Jesus. It's a hard place to be in. But the hardest place of all that Mary had to endure, I think, is when she had to watch her child. And in John chapter 19, you can read all about it. She didn't run, she didn't hide, she stayed there at his cross. That had to be the hardest place on earth that Mary could have been in. But she stayed there because God had called her to it. Even to death, she was willing to be there all the way. You talk about a woman of strength, surrender, unimaginable suffering, all for Christ, all for God. Mary is a perfect example of someone who was put in hard places for the glory of God, and she came out of it all resilient, knowing who her child was, knowing what he'd done for this world. And I believe she was his greatest cheerleader. I believe she was so proud of her son and all of those hard places. I want to be more like Mary. God bless you. I love you. Have a wonderful weekend.